Thanks everyone for joining us today. You're very welcome. I'm glad to have you all here. Today's webinar is going to be a little bit different than our usual. We're mostly just focusing on demoing some really new features that we have coming to the project outcome dashboards to give you a sense of what those look like and see them live, and then you'll be able to go home and experiment with those on your own as well. This webinar is being recorded, as Gina said, and we will, of course, share a copy of the recording with you afterwards. So don't worry if you don't catch everything right away. All right, thanks. So my name is Sarah Grick. I am program manager at the Public Library Association, formerly of ACRL as well. So I've been involved in both the academic and public library versions of the toolkit. And joining me today, you heard already from Gina Parsons-Diamond, program coordinator at ACRL. And we also have with us Nellie Barrett, program officer at PLA. So the three of us will collectively be talking about what's in the toolkit for you and answering your questions as well. All right, so just to give us a sense of who's here, if you would click on the raise hand icon, which you can find in the participants window, I believe, and let us know if you're already using Project Outcome, just a informal poll. How familiar are folks with the toolkit already? See if you're paying attention. All right, it looks like we're getting over 50 people anyway, so at least a third, hopefully, maybe close to half. I think they disappear after a few seconds. So pretty good number. If you haven't already started using Project Outcome, hopefully you'll be excited by the new offerings we're sharing with you today and motivated to go check it out as well. So if you're not familiar, we do have two versions of the toolkit, one for public libraries and one for academic libraries. Both of them together are designed to help libraries understand and share the impact of essential library services and programs. We provide simple surveys and an easy to use process for measuring and analyzing outcomes. Project Outcome also provides libraries with resources and training support to apply their results and advocate for the library's future. So if you haven't signed up already, just go to one of those links for either the public library side or the academic library side of the toolkit, and you can sign up. It should just take you 30 seconds to just get a quick confirmation email. And both of these tools are completely free as long as you work at a library. So the two toolkits work in exactly the same way, no matter what type of library you're at. The difference is in the survey topics that will be available to you, because public and academic libraries offer different types of programs and services. Those are the differences in the toolkits, is the types of survey topics available, and of course, how you choose to apply them at your library. So for public libraries, there are 8 survey topics: digital learning, early childhood literacy, health, summer reading, economic development, job skills, civic and community engagement, and education and lifelong learning. For academic libraries, there are 7 survey topics currently: instruction, research, events and programs, teaching support, library technology, digital and special collections, and space. So that's really the only difference you'll see there is in those survey topics. And so in the demos that we're going to do today, I think Gina is going to mostly be using the academic library toolkit, but again, it's going to look exactly the same as what public libraries see. The only difference is in those topics. We also have, as well as the new features within the toolkit, we have some new resources that are available to you. For public libraries, the most recently added resources are one on measuring virtual programs and grab and go services. That deals with some of the questions we've seen come up related to COVID-19 and the need to offer remote and virtual services. The analyzing quantitative data and visualizing data resources are new to the public library side. They already existed on the academic library side. And for academic libraries, there's a new resource on setting goals for outcome measurement, and a version of that will probably be added for public libraries shortly. So we do develop these in tandem, but they're not always added at precisely the same time. So do check those out, as well as all the other resources available on the site. So today's demo is going to focus on the new features and improvements we've made to the toolkit recently. We don't anticipate really taking the full hour, unless of course you have lots of questions, in which case we'll be more than happy to stay and answer them all. But we're going to focus on these 3 areas of the toolkit. So the survey management tool, we've made some improvements to the interface. We're going to show you what that looks like. It makes it a bit easier for you to navigate and find your surveys. Within the data dashboards, then there's a new dashboard for qualitative data, which visually represents your open-ended survey comments. This is still a work in progress, so we didn't have all the features we were hoping to have to share with you today, but we'll give you at least a preview of what that looks like. And we also have some really exciting new features for the custom reports. You're now able to save visualizations from the data dashboards and add those to custom reports along with custom text as well. So just a final reminder, Project Outcome, we're constantly making improvements and adding new features like this. It's kind of a living tool. So this session is going to be really valuable for us to hear your questions and get feedback. And we'll continue to look for ways that we can improve both the resources and the toolkit. So please do continue to add your questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll be sure to try and address all of those. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Gina to do a demonstration.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm excited to show everyone all these new features. We're going to start with a quick update on the updated survey management tool. If you haven't logged in recently, this tool has been redesigned. This is where you can see all the surveys that have been created by users from your institution. The default display here is reverse chronological by creation date. So you'll see the most recent surveys on top. There are new quick action buttons on the top to create a new survey, build a report, or look at the open-ended responses from your surveys in the survey response viewer. If you're looking for a specific set of surveys, you can click on this filter button and it'll pop up here. You can also search for keywords if you're looking for something particular. So moving down, you can sort the surveys with these little arrows by any of the column headers. Again, if you're looking for all of your draft surveys or all of your surveys for a particular topic, this would be an easy way to group them together. And within each survey, there are quick actions here on the right-hand side. You can copy a survey, edit a survey, or if your survey status is marked as active, you can run a quick report right from this page. And we've also done a little redesign on each survey's detail page. Here at the top, you can update your attendance number if you want a response rate to appear on your reports. It's also easier to administer the survey here with these 2 links. The first one is download a paper survey, and the second is get the online survey link. And all the surveys are available in English, Spanish, and French. So if you need to administer it in several languages, you can also do that here. A new feature that I especially want to call out is this embed button. The Project Outcome Toolkit will now automatically create iframe embedding code for your survey if you want it to appear directly on your library's website or LibGuide. Moving down, you can edit the survey details here. If you have no responses, you'll have a few more fields here that you can edit your custom questions, intro, and footer messages. Because this survey has responses, you're able to do less editing. And finally, the last part of the survey detail page is entering paper responses. We have 3 ways to do this. One is to enter individual responses online. You can also download an Excel template that you can fill out and update. And I particularly want to call out the bulk URL. Here, you can upload multiple survey responses here, and this link can be shared out with student workers or volunteers so they can enter your survey data without having a Project Outcome account. That's all for the updated survey management tool. I'm just going to pause for a quick second to see if anybody has any questions.
Not seeing any questions in the chat, but if you do have questions, we can also come back to those. Oh, maybe there's one coming.
So I see the question, have you thought of adding Arabic? Um, Sarah, do you have anything to say about that?
Sure. So we would be happy to add surveys in other languages, but we don't have the resources at this time to create the translations. But if you are creating a translation to work with audiences using other languages at your library and would be willing to share that, then we would be able to add it to the toolkit. It's also something we may explore more in future.
Okay. And now I'm going to move on to showing you the qualitative dashboard. As Sarah said, I will be using the academic toolkit here, but all the functionality is the same for the public libraries toolkit. The only difference will be the survey topics that you see. So the qualitative dashboard here is available at the top. This is where you will be able to explore common words from your open-ended survey responses. And looking down, I'm going to use instruction as my example. If you hover over the words, they will appear in black instead of purple. And if you click on a word, you'll be able to see more details here in the word details section. It'll have the word count, as well as nearby words. And if you hover over the nearby words, you'll also be able to see the counts available there. And the nearby words are sorted by the most common nearby word first. And then moving down, we get to a lower count nearby word. In the future, we're going to add a filter on this dashboard for each separate open-ended response question. So you will be able to generate a separate word cloud for each open-ended response question. Right now, it's both questions combined. Again, I'll pause for questions after looking at the qualitative dashboard. Sorry, I can't see the chat.
I can answer these. We've got a couple that have come in. Question about how nearby is nearby words. I believe these are ones that appear directly next to the primary word. I can confirm that with our developers. In terms of removing words from the word cloud, as I've mentioned and as Gina mentioned, this is not yet finished, so it doesn't have all the features that we were hoping to be able to show you today. And I think some of those sorts of improvements we will continue to make over time. So, removing library, for example, yes, that's a possibility, or tweaking it in other ways. We also have a question about if we add a question, is it included in the general word cloud? No, I believe these are just from the two standard open-ended questions. So you would need to download the raw data, the filter, the open-ended responses to have access to that data and to use another tool. Again, hearing the sort of feedback gives us ideas in terms of what we might also add later on. Okay, question from Karen. So the word clouds pull from all the instruction survey responses, or can we filter to specific survey responses? So the filters that we will be adding will let you filter by open-ended question and also by program. So that will give you a little bit more granular level of data to be able to visualize in the word clouds. Yes, the program names are always important, as I think anyone who's used the qualitative or other dashboards already will know. Those program names are important as data filters. Right. Did I miss any other questions there?
Okay, I think I'll move on. If you think of any questions about the qualitative dashboard, feel free to type them into the chat and we're happy to address them. And now I want to move on to saving custom images for reports, which is a very exciting improvement for us. So now you will be able to save custom images from the overview, qualitative, and matrix dashboards for inclusions in your report. So yes, Ellen, it looks you can download the word cloud as a picture to add to your report. So the overview dashboard shows aggregate average scores across all survey topics and across all outcomes, which allows you to easily understand your library's quantitative survey results at a glance. So if you wanted to add one of these visualizations to your report on the academic library side, if your library administration was interested in how your institution's events program survey response averages compared to others in your Carnegie class or nationally, saving down the topic review image, which is this top one right here, would give them this info at a glance. And for public libraries, if you wanted to draw attention to the outcomes of your summer reading program, you could save the summer reading topic overview into your report, and that would be an easy way to highlight those outcomes. The matrix dashboard presents views for exploring relationships between survey topics and outcomes in your library's data. So on the academic library side, for example, if you were running an instruction section for first-year students, where the goal was to increase confidence in using the library, you could save the image of this chord diagram here that would show the strong relationship between the two to include in your report. And on the public library side, if you wanted to demonstrate the connection between your library's digital learning programs and patrons' increased awareness of the library resources, the chord diagram would also be a good diagram to add to show this strong relationship. So for this demonstration, we're going to save a matrix image to include in the final report. The first thing you're going to want to do is filter your data. If you're planning on creating a report for a specific program or location, you want to make sure that that program or location is selected as a filter here to ensure that your data matches in the final report. So I am going to filter by program name for this test so that I only get the data for my program. So once you've done all the filtering the way you want, simply hover over the image and click on this little save icon. And this will pop up a little brain space. This will pop up where you can name your image. And again, if you're creating images for a certain program or location, you're going to want to name your image that as well. So I'm going to call this ACRL test program, and I'm going to include the date I'm running the report as well. And then once you've named it, just scroll down and hit save. So once you have all the images you want to add to the report, you can save images across these three dashboards, the overview, qualitative, and matrix, to include in your report. You're going to want to build the report. In building your report, again, make sure that any filters you select here match the filters that you use to generate the image. So in mine, I am doing an instruction topic survey that's immediate. And my program name, again, is ACRL test. And just if you've never built a report before, you can write in a purpose statement or select a logo, but I'm going to do neither of those things for this demonstration. And then here, you're going to want to click Preview Report. And this will generate your report. And if you scroll down, you'll see there's two new fields here, Custom Pages and Custom Content. You can add a custom page wherever you would like in the report, depending on how long your report is and what you're wishing to convey. I'm going to add my image after this first page so that it's close to all the other images. If you accidentally add a page where you don't want to, that's okay. Simply click the X here and the page will be deleted. Once you've added your page where you want it in the report, you can put in your custom content. There are two kinds of custom content you can include, content and text. Content is those images we've saved from the dashboard. This will build you an image library. So make sure again that you're naming the images in a way that makes sense to you to add them into the report. So once you've picked your image, or you can add to a report, and you can also add multiple images here if you'd like. It's easy to resize the image by clicking on this arrow. I want it a little smaller. And you can also move it around on the page wherever you would like it. So I'm going to put mine at the bottom. And then I'm going to click on the next custom content area, text, to add in my custom text. If you click here on edit text, we do have some good formatting options. You can make things bold, italic, make things a header. And then you can add additional explanatory text here to really explain to whoever is receiving this report why you've included this image and why it's important. And then you just hit save, and you can again go back in and edit the text if you realize that you want to put a little bit more or a little bit less in. The text boxes are also shrinkable and movable, so you can put them wherever you would like on the page. Once you're happy with how the custom page is looking, or if you want to add additional custom pages, you can do that too. But once all your custom information is in, you're going to want to hit confirm and print. Even if you're not planning on printing the report immediately, you're going to want to hit confirm so that the report saves in your project outcome account. So once you've created this report and it looks beautiful, full of your custom images, it will always be accessible here in print past reports. So you can preview it here, and the saved report will continue to include your custom images. So you can see here, the report includes my custom page. This is nice if maybe you gave a report to your administration or board 6 months ago and they want to review it again and you're not sure where you saved it. They'll always be available here to you in the project outcome data dashboards. For now, you're only able to add these static saved visualizations to custom reports in the toolkit. This is the first step we're taking in a process towards allowing you to also save and share the dynamic online visualizations. So that's a thing to look forward to in the future. Does anybody have any questions about the saving of custom images into your reports?
I just want to reiterate what Gina just said, because I know this came up in a question in the chat, is you will be able to download these separately as well. Again, that's a next step, but for now, being able to save them and add them into the reports is something we're pretty excited about. Okay, please continue to type in questions if you had questions. I see a suggestion there about ways to source translations of the surveys. That's a great idea. We can look into that further. If anyone has further questions about the demo or anything that we have shared, please type those into the chat box. And if you have questions after today, as always, we're here at the peer discussion boards tied to your project outcome account, or you can email us for ACRL. It's acrl@projectoutcome.org or plainfo@projectoutcome.org.
I see that Wes just asked a question. What is a good resource of a starting point video if someone was new to Project Outcome? We have an extensive resources section on both toolkits that are available, that shows you how to set up an account, how to make a first survey, that sort of thing. Additionally, in the resources, there are recordings of webinars, and I believe both toolkits have an introductory webinar listed there. So dive into the resources section, especially the tutorials and the recorded webinars.
Great. Another question specific to public libraries. Have you surveyed public libraries about the types of questions you're trying to answer and how Project Outcome might fit into that? We did a broad user survey for Project Outcome specifically in the spring and have used that to inform some of the new resources that we're adding and also potential new survey topics. I didn't really want to say too much about that today, but there will be a new survey topic coming to the public library side, hopefully in a few months. It's still being finalized and tested. So that sort of feedback does continue to inform the work that we're doing. Another question about how PLA is recommending we administer outcome surveys for grab and go virtual programs. That's that new resource that I mentioned. It has a whole bunch of recommendations depending on what your needs might be, strategies that you can use to try and get more responses, ways that you can communicate to your patrons, and also a few examples, some from even pre-pandemic, from libraries that were doing grab and go and virtual service previously, as well as some current examples from during COVID about libraries doing that sort of work and what they have done. So I definitely encourage you to check that resource out. I can't repeat everything I said in those 4 pages, but it is there for you. And thanks, Nellie has just popped in the link there. Okay, a question maybe for Gina to take. What survey type would you recommend for student research appointments in an academic library? Or I can answer if you want.
Oh, sure. We have 2 survey topics that might be helpful to you. Our instruction survey, which is generally about meeting with students and letting them know more about the school. Otherwise, we have a research survey, which may be helpful if they're really looking into research. I'm going to send you the link to the questions for each survey resource. So you can look at those ahead of time before creating your survey to see really which topic would work best for you. I'm just going to say if academic library users are interested in learning how more real life institutions are using the toolkit, we are having a webinar on December 9th about how academic libraries have used the toolkit in the past. And I'm just going to put the registration link in the chat here if you're interested in hearing some more real life examples.
Okay, we had another question come up in the chat. When building reports, do open-ended questions always have to be added manually, or can they be set to be included automatically? If I'm understanding the question correctly, all the questions you've added to the survey will be included in the report, but you have to choose to add the responses, and whether you can set it to add all the responses to all the questions, or you can select which responses you want to appear in the report. You can't set that as like a default setting for the whole toolkit. It is when you build each individual report. And just to clarify as well, if you if you do have specific feedback about the individual survey questions or ideas for new topics you'd like to see, you can always send us an email again, and we can just keep that in mind as we work with our respective member groups to decide on what changes to prioritize. Another question, in adding a custom question, how do you get options to add selection choices? For example, how did you hear about this program? And then there should be choices, but I've not had success with adding choices. Well, thank you for adding that question, because that is one of the improvements we are currently working on. So that is something you will be able to do in future. Right now, you can only use multiple choice questions that are pre-populated in the system, but what we are working on is giving you the ability to add multiple choice questions as your custom questions as well. So that will be coming soon. So I'm glad that got brought up. Question from Janet, will all the multiple choice allow multiple answers, or check all that apply versus a single select? I don't know yet. We are still working through this. So we'll have more information to share once that feature is closer to ready. Okay, I think if there are more questions, we're happy to continue to answer those. Otherwise, this has been a pretty short and sweet webinar, so thank you all so much for attending. Please do take a moment to fill out the brief survey as you exit the Zoom room. It should pop up automatically, and we really appreciate your questions and your feedback.